Good morning, this is the Eager Beaver Show.
You are listening to a True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated podcast. The True North Eager Beaver podcasts are proudly brought to you by our founding sponsors, the Miss V Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, your source for science fiction, fantasy, and cozy mysteries featuring a broad diversity of characters. PsychicTarot.ca, book your tarot reading and unlock your spiritual journey. And the Pepper Master, hot pepper sauces made from farm fresh ingredients to thrill your taste buds and expand your mind. Well, good morning and hello, kids, and welcome to Season 5 and episode number 75 of the True North Eager Beaver Interview Project. Today, recording day is Wednesday, July 16th, 2025. For later broadcast, we haven't chosen a date yet. We're doing a little time traveling. I am your host, the Eager Beaver, pronouns he, him, hey, Mr. Beaver A, and with me, as always, is my good friend, Mr. Grizzly. We have an interesting show for you today because we have a guest. And to let you know a little bit about him, our guest is born and raised in Oakville, but currently resides in Burlington with his wife and 2 kids. His background includes operating a multi-location electronics retail and repair facility, co-founding a COVID screening tech startup, working as a product manager for a Big 3 telecom, and he has also served as a special advisor for Prime Minister Trudeau and briefly for Prime Minister Carney, and has provided digital communications, presence, and campaign tooling as a consultant on a large variety of campaigns. Kits and Cubs, please put your paws up and have a big round of applause for our guest, Mr. Nathaniel Arfin. Welcome to the Beaver Lodge.
Thanks for having me.
Nice to see you today. As we ask before every show, when we get started, how is your mental health doing today?
It's doing pretty well. A little bit of anxiety, a little bit of nerves, but overall I'm feeling good. Happy to be here and good, positive, forward-looking outlook, I feel.
Excellent. We're glad to have you. And Mr. Grizzly, how's your mental health doing today, sir?
A little bit better than it was earlier today. I got a little bit of rest, so that helped. I'm still feeling a little summer coldish. Whatever is going around, it's still here, but I'm feeling better now than I did a couple of hours ago. So I'm closer to myself.
Okay.
Yeah.
Glad to hear that. Glad to hear it. And of course, because I forgot to do it in the intro, a big thank you goes to our podcast founding sponsors, the Pepper Master, the Miss V Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, and PsychicTarot.ca. Now, Nathaniel, you are at the forefront, not alone, but at the forefront of a movement within the Ontario Liberal Party that is asking the question whether or not the party should go forward into the future with Bonnie Crombie as the leader. And I believe the movement within the party is called New Leaf Liberals. Could you tell us a little bit about it?
For sure. Thank you for the introduction. Thanks for having me. So New Leaf Liberals, we are a group of grassroots members of the party, organizers, former staffers, former candidates. We have all types of Ontario Liberals on board, and we are looking to build a stronger version of our party, one that listens to the members, believes in the value of the grassroots, and that can grow stronger so that we can defeat Doug Ford.
Like the sound of that.
All right.
Really
All
like the
right.
sound of
Good,
that.
good. So now, for our audience that may not be familiar with New Leaf Liberals, because on our show we've been talking about initiatives in other provinces such as BC One, and in Alberta, the revival of the Alberta Progressive Conservative Party. This is not a movement to start a new party, right? This is working within the structures of the current party.
That's correct. We don't believe that we would be better represented by the NDP or by a new party. The Ontario Liberal Party is still a valuable party in Ontario, and we believe in the strength of both its brand and many of its members. And that's why we're trying to do this in a way that doesn't divide the party, but gives us an opportunity to build ourselves up together. But it is not a new party, definitely not. This is trying to strengthen the OLP as it stands.
Okay. So before we go into the mandate and the mission, I'd like to get a little sense of how we got here. So I'd like to take
Mm,
us back to when Bonnie Crombie secured the leadership. Of course, we had the previous election with Stephen Del Duca as the leader, and that did not go well for the party. The party had lost party status. He went on to become the mayor of Vaughan, I believe. But the party then had to rebuild. And there was a leadership race, which Bonnie Crombie won rather convincingly. Um, at the time, what was she promising that would have earned her the leadership? And what did she say that if she won, she could do for the party?
So in 2023, when the leadership happened, Bonnie Crombie, in her campaign, was running on the idea of being the candidate who could defeat Doug Ford in a single term. It wasn't a long rebuilding project. It wasn't a big runway. It was, this is a great party. We need to energize and mobilize, and we can go out and win. She billed herself, and she was billed as the winnability candidate. She
mm,
wasn't going to take us through the rebuild cycle. It was about, we can raise money out of the gate. Bonnie Crombie is the best fundraiser that the party has seen, and we can beat Doug Ford come 2026, which is when the election was supposed to be.
right.
Right. All right. And then I guess she was probably banking on her own name recognition and the fact that she, I mean, Mississauga is is it the second largest city in Ontario now? Um, so, I mean,
Mm,
she she gets a lot of press, right? And everybody knows her name. Um, so I guess in that sense, I have the connections, I have the network, I have the name recognition. I can do this, right? Okay.
Yeah, it wasn't a terrible idea. Now, I personally did not support her in the leadership race, but
Okay.
she came out with that mandate. She didn't win, I wouldn't say convincingly. Her win was 53% on the final ballot. It did take all three ballots for her to win, and
Okay.
it was a very narrow victory. What we didn't see coming out of that was recognition of the fact that she only won by a narrow margin, and that the majority of people who voted did not rank her at all on their ballots. So the people
Oh.
who against her would have ranked her fourth or not at all. And that's 47% of the party. So there was no recognition of that coming out. And there wasn't seemingly a desire to build with people who were part of other camps. So the Yasser Nakvi team and the Ted Shu team, and even Adil Shamji's team to a certain extent, those people felt left out of that conversation to a certain degree coming out of the gate, and there needed to be a lot of regrowth and capacity and team building, and we didn't see that happen.
Oh, okay. See, I was under the under the mistaken impression that it had been a convincing win because it had been a point system, and therefore when you look at 52 or 53, you can't really look at the straight number. But if a lot of people put her fourth or didn't vote for her at all on those ballots, then yeah, exactly. Then that's not convincing at all in any way, shape, or form. Okay, so she has these promises. She says that she's the winnability candidate. She can move forward with that somewhere along the way, right, because the party lost official status, I assume that there's some work to be done about going into the various regions, rebuilding some EDAs, that type of stuff, doing some really grassroots work. Um, how did that process go after having secured the leadership?
I'm not sure that it did go, if I'm
Oh,
being honest. There wasn't much capacity building that took place. We're now starting to see some recognition that having dead PLAs, or non-existent provincial liberal associations, as we call them, having those non-existent PLAs is a failure of the party. But we have had non-existent PLAs for a very long time, and none of that capacity building was done in 2024. We're now acknowledging these failures as a party in 2026 or 2025, having lost the election. But that capacity building and those meetings and that getting out and talking to stakeholders, talking to union leaders, talking to industry leaders, showing people that this is a new leadership and a different version of the party, that never happened. So we came out of that leadership election in very much the same place we were in the aftermath of 2018 and in the aftermath of 2022. And we took away lessons in the form of campaign debriefs. And those campaign debriefs, they were never actioned. There was never any change that took place. And if you look at 2018 and 2022, the debriefs are essentially the exact same. And I'm suspecting we're going to have a lot of the same thing in the 2025 debrief as well.
Was there a concerted post-mortem exercise done after the election that ended up with Stephen Del Duca leaving?
Yes. So there was and there is a public report from the OLP essentially outlining where we fell short. And that was volunteer capacity building, fundraising for EDAs, nominating good candidates early, and ensuring that we stay engaged with supporters throughout the non-election years.
Mhm.
And these are things, again, that didn't happen in 2024. And now we're paying the price, and we're finally, as a party, waking up to the fact that we haven't done the work. We didn't do the work in 2018 because we elected somebody who we figured could walk in and people would just vote for us because we're the Liberal Party. And then we did it again in 2023, where we elected a leader and we said, we don't have to do any of the capacity building. We don't have to do any of the work. We don't have to go through the rebuild cycle. We just need a new leader, and people will vote for us because we're the Liberal Party.
Yeah, hubris, eh?
It's a failure to acknowledge that the lessons of the past are real lessons, and we actually have to take away those learnings.
Mhm.
You just ignore it, and when everyone is telling you this is the problem, and you don't change anything about it, nothing's going to change in the aftermath.
Hmm. Now, I would assume as a loss of official party status, there are some financial consequences to that as well. Um, in your estimation, how would have that affected the rebuilding process, and was Bonnie Crombie uh, good at doing the fundraising that would have been needed at that time in order to be able to fund it?
I think the leadership race actually presented us with a really great opportunity in 2023 to do a lot of fundraising that wasn't otherwise possible
Mhm.
in non-leadership events. the party was able to take, I believe it was a quarter of all donations given to the leadership contestants, and they had to pay the entrance fee. So it really did do a lot to fill up the OLP's coffers prior to the 2024 fundraising year.
Okay.
Not having official party status, absolutely, it hurts. You don't have the research bureau, you can't hire the staff, that kind of stuff. It's going to hurt a party, and it does make it difficult to rebuild, but that's why it has to be taken seriously. And that capacity building had to be taken seriously, and it just wasn't in 2024. Now we're in a better position because we do have official party status, but we're still not seeing fundraising amounts where they should be. The party is claiming that they've raised $5 million. I'm not sure where that number is coming from. If you look at the Elections Ontario Finances disclosures, the Liberals have raised about $1.5 million, which, it's not nothing, but it's not $5 million. And that needs to have, we need to be getting recurring donations. We need to be inspiring people to join the party and make those financial contributions and be a recurring member and somebody who supports the party month in and month out. And we lost a lot of that donation support over the years, and it hasn't come back. And Bonnie Crombie didn't rebuild that capacity. It didn't happen throughout 2024. And now we're seeing the results, and the party's raising maybe 20,000, maybe 30,000 a month.
Okay. Now, I would assume as well that at the time, and this is a situation that persists because she doesn't have a seat, and if she's going to be party leader full time, that with that limited amount of funds, there also needed to be some type of salary.
So Bonnie is collecting a salary that was set, I believe, at $185,000 a year. So that is her current salary. That's we need a leader with the ability to do their job and do it comfortably, and those things are important. But she failed to win a seat. She failed to run for the Milton by-election when it was open, and she failed to win her seat. And at a certain point, the party has to decide, are we going to continue using our limited fundraising dollars to keep Bonnie on as leader and continue to pay her, or are we going to move forward and find someone who can pay their own way, as it were, by getting themselves a seat?
So that by-election in Milton, when that opportunity came along and she decided to take a pass on that, how was it seen at the time? And looking back now, I'm getting the sense from the conversation that it was deemed to not be a wise decision looking back now. But at the time, how was that playing?
It's interesting because I don't think there were too many upset Liberals. It was one of those things where they found a local candidate with decent name recognition in Galen, and they ran the campaign. They put a lot of resources and a lot of money into that campaign, and we didn't come away with the victory, and that it hurt. But I don't think that the party or all that many of the members were saying Bonnie needs to run in this election or she's ill qualified. It didn't feel that urgent at that time. And, she wanted to wait for a Mississauga seat to open up, which is completely reasonable. She was the mayor of Mississauga. Let her run in Mississauga, where she has the great name recognition, the great branding, and she can actually connect with her constituents. That it play out that way.
All right.
Do you think, I just wanted to ask this question, do you think perhaps, because I get this sort of David Dingwall vibe, I'm entitled to my entitlements, and I'm not trying to take anything away from David Dingwall. He was correct in what he said, but the way he said it, it was such a flippant. You're beneath me. I deserve this. Do you get the feeling that the party was like, well, of course we're going to win. We're the Liberal Party. Of course we're going to, because that is the feeling I got in the last two elections, and I think that's kind of what you were saying. correct me if I'm wrong, but it seemed to be, it did not connect with the average voter because of that attitude. That's my vibe, because I don't think Doug Ford clearly has the support he likes to brag that he does, because what was the turnout? 43% in the previous election, and the most recent one, I think, was a little higher, but not much.
Yeah.
It was
So he got his landslide majority with what, 12% of the population or something like that. So I think people were just kind of pissed off, if you will, at the party for their attitude of, well, of course we're going to win. And again, nobody came out and ever said that publicly anyway, but certainly was the vibe that I got from the party. And as a result, I think they got handed 2 losses in a row that were earned on their part.
I would definitely agree with that sentiment. I mean, there was a lot of policy work that went into that election. I'm not going to, 2025, we were handed a difficult set of cards with Donald Trump. I don't think the leader really could have played a part, whether it was Bonnie, whether it was Nate, whether it was Yasser, doesn't matter, because that election was so perfectly positioned for a Liberal failure and for a Doug Ford majority. However, are we looking at that same election? Does the snap election get called if we have a more competent leader in the Liberal Party, if we're getting those numbers, if we have support? And number two, the expectations weren't set by any other leadership candidate that we would win in one. Every other leadership candidate said we need to do the work. We need to return to the grassroots. We need to build up our constituency. We need to regain the trust of Ontarians before we can even start thinking about winning and beating Doug Ford. And until that work gets done, we're going to keep coming across as entitled or lazy or whatever, however you want to put it. We need to actually do the work, and it's not happening.
So basically all the other candidates were saying it's going to be essentially a 2-cycle process, but she was saying I can win.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which,
okay.
We never got to see if a 2026 election would have been different, but the tea leaves, Bonnie Crombie wasn't increasing the vote share. She wasn't at any point in time doing the necessary work to rebuild the party, and we didn't see any changes down the pipeline.
All right. So in that process, the capacity building is not being done. The fundraising is not all it could be. And then the other issue with which you can appeal to people is with policy. Now, I know that there was a lot of work done on the housing policy, and that involved Nate Erskine-Smith, and that was very, very well regarded. But other than that, I didn't hear much about policy. So was there a policy convention? Was there something that happened where they're supposed to be working on other things? Well, health and education are the 2 primary areas for provincial government. And as a citizen, I didn't hear much of what the Liberals were planning or tabling or doing to shore that up. Again, the housing policy got a lot of good press, heard about that. That was fantastic. But after that, what happened policy-wise?
So from the outset, the leadership did set a goal to have a healthcare commission who would provide reports for policy consideration. There was a housing commission set up to do the same. There was an economic task force. All these task forces were created, but we never got to see the work. I don't know when they met or what they actually did. There was no minutes or anything like that. As for a policy convention, whether or not it took place depends on who you ask. So I have heard from some execs who said that there was an executive council policy convention, but it wasn't open to the floor. It wasn't open to the membership. So to me, that's not a policy convention. And I don't really feel like we can call it that. There doesn't appear to be any motivation for a policy convention. I'm really not sure that it will take place under this leadership.
Okay. So we know that she has a leadership review coming, right? So, but actually, before we get to that, then we had the last election, right? In your estimation, what happened? Like the party did achieve party status, but is still didn't achieve official opposition status. She still does not have a seat. So what was the mood going into the election? Did the party, when the election was launched, really feel, hey, we've got this, because that's the face that was presented, but behind the scenes, was there buy-in to that? Or
The team's goals seem to shift throughout the election as they were reacting to news. So we're saying we're probably went from 25 to 20 and then to 15, and then, well, we're going to keep our party status. And those goals seem to change with the polling. From the outset, people weren't expecting a victory. I don't think that anyone within the Liberal Party was expecting a victory, and we would have accepted, let's get opposition and have the leader in her seat, and that positions us well for the next one. I don't care what the vote share is. We live in Ontario. We have a first past the post system. We as a party need to work within that system, and touting the 30% vote share, it does not matter. It's not representative of victory in any way, and campaign managers know this. You if you're in second place in 10 ridings, that's not a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
We need to be allocating resources better. We need better data. We need better staffing. We need better teams, and we need volunteers who are empowered and engaged and are willing to do things and allowed to do things, instead of trying to put everything on staffers and put everything on the candidates. We need to engage a volunteer base and trust them. Without that, we're gonna flounder, and that is what we saw in this past election. Is there wasn't that capacity building, so there wasn't volunteer staff for the candidates. Some of the candidates weren't well screened. There were very few nomination races that were actually contested, and the ones that were held very, very late, so that the candidates were hamstrung and unable to do the door knocking before the election was even called. There were systemic failures at every single step in this election, and that those systemic failures started from the failure to do the capacity building in 2024, failure to engage volunteers, capture the energy from the 2023 leadership, and bring that into 2024 and into 2025.
okay, so basically the lack of the foundational work that needed to be done did eventually manifest itself and came back to bite people on the backside. So the expression goes.
Yeah, I think that's pretty fair. I mean, again, these are the same systemic failures and the same problems we saw in 2018 and saw in 2022. They're reported. We know these things have been failures in the past, and we know what outcomes they lead to. So if we don't change our process and we don't address these failing points that we know exist, we're not going to fix anything.
So would it be fair to say that the emergence of New Leaf Liberals comes in part, or is motivated in part, by the fact that following the most recent election, there didn't seem to be any particular enthusiasm from leadership as it stands now to engage in that process this time?
Yes, I would say that that's absolutely fair. After
Okay.
the election in March, Bonnie Crombie immediately came out and said, I'm staying. If you look, we won party status. We got 30% of the vote. This was a victory for our party. And That was the line they were touting in the regional meetings until they started to hear significant pushback. At every regional meeting, they came out and they said, this was a successful election for our party. We can build on this. It was a good thing. We did great. Let's move forward. Mm-hmm. Now, as of yesterday or July 15th, depending on when this comes out, the Bonnie Crombie camp seems to have acknowledged that their line of messaging is not resonating with the Ontario voters. Instead, they're coming out and saying, we're sorry. We know that we screwed up. But this was a line of messaging that we needed to hear in March, in April. Mm-hmm. Now we're in July, and you're saying this stuff after there has been organization, after there is movement to replace, because they have failed.
Okay. I think I saw a video clip of that somewhere on the feed of yours, so I'll go hunt for that, and so that we can show it within the episode here, so that our audience can know what it is that you're talking about. Okay. So there doesn't seem to be any motivation to do the work. Is there anything, how would I say, not wanting to get you to air dirty laundry out in public, but is there any grumblings of discontentment that comes from the fact that there may have been people saying that we need to do this all along, who appear to have been ignored or pushed aside, and basically right now we're going, see, we told you.
There is quite a lot of that. We've heard from, the New Leaf Liberals. We held our first meetup in Toronto just last week, and we have one coming up tomorrow, July 17th in Ottawa. We have a number of meetups planned. We have people who are coming to us and telling us these are the frustrations that we tried to raise in 23, in 24. These are the kinds of frustrations that we saw. We told them we couldn't recruit volunteers. We told them we weren't prepared. We're hearing that from constituency, PLA presidents. We're hearing it from candidates. We're hearing it from all kinds of Ontario Liberals who are saying, we knew this failure was coming and we didn't do anything about it.
All right. Paul,
I have it.
You have it? Okay. So we have, thank you, Nathaniel, for sending it to us. We have the link to the video. It's about 4 minutes long. And she preceded it by saying here, when she tweeted it, over the past few months, I've traveled across Ontario listening to our members. I've heard about your hopes, frustrations, and ideas for what comes next. I'm grateful to each and every one of you who showed up, spoke up, and shared honestly. Your voices are shaping our path forward. From Thunder Bay to Kingston, Windsor to Ottawa, and many stops in between, one thing is clear, there's a deep hunger for a party that's more grassroots, more focused, and more ready to win. I agree. We have work to do, and this is just the beginning. And here's what she had to say.
Hi, everyone. I've been traveling across the province, participating in regional meetings, but I wanted to share some of my thoughts directly with you about what went well in the last election and, well, what didn't, and where we can change and grow as a party. I believe in accountability, and that's why the OLP team will be conducting a robust and thorough campaign review process. While participating in the regional review sessions, I've heard some common themes, constructive criticisms, and some suggestions. We could have open candidate nominations earlier to allow more time for local fundraising and door knocking. And in response to that, I'll say that right now, we intend to open nominations in many ridings as of January 2026 to ensure that we have a head start recruiting candidates. We could have done more to lift up and engage the rural and northern parts of Ontario too. I plan to address this issue head on as well. I'll be touring the province to help fundraise and rebuild local ridings, But I'm also going to engage in a conversation with the OLP executive and management to ensure that there are dedicated resources, such as staff, in place to support rural and northern ridings long before the next grid is dropped. We'll also be having hard internal conversations about the choices made and speaking with our campaign leadership team to identify the successes and the failures. We have a window between now and to the next election to revitalize the grassroots of our party, close the distance between the rural and urban parts of our party, take new approaches to campaigning digitally and at the doors, and above all, be in a position to defeat Doug Ford and the Conservatives. There will be a time to talk about the next election, but now is the time to re-engage the grassroots. We will use the learnings from this campaign to make sure the next campaign is run differently. We must evaluate and build on our strengths and identify and address our weaknesses. I'm proud to be the leader of our party, and I'm proud of what we accomplished together in the last election. We regained official party status for the first time since 2018, unlocking millions in resources to support our team with policy, research, and communications efforts. All of our caucus members were re-elected. We picked up 5 new seats. We improved our vote share in 102 of the 124 ridings. We came in second in 77 ridings and won 14 of them. We earned 30% of the popular vote, surpassing the NDP, who only got 18%. That progress is thanks to you, our grassroots volunteers who worked tirelessly in every corner of the province. Thank you for everything you did and continue to do. I'll leave you with a few thoughts. We won St. Paul's, Don Valley North, and Etobicoke Lakeshore. And that puts us in a position to keep growing our seat count in the GTA. We won Nepean, and that makes it easier to win other Ottawa area ridings. We won Ajax, which gives us a foothold to win in the rest of Durham. Progress is often not a straight line, but I'm determined and I'm confident because of all of the volunteers that, like you, help us win local campaigns. And because Ontarians will not tolerate so much bad governance before they demand change. Thank you again to all of you, the grassroots that made the OLP strong and resilient. I'm Bonnie Crombie, and I'm proud to serve you as the leader of the Ontario Liberal Party. Together we can keep moving forward and growing our party.
Okay, I got a few comments about that. I particularly liked how that started off. I thought it was an admission that they'd been humbled, that the work has not been done, that it was from a position of we realize, for want of a better term, we messed up, and it's time for us to get down and do the right thing and work harder. At the 2.5 minute mark is when she kind of lost me. And this is just coming from a personal perspective of, why are you telling me about, we won this. I don't want to hear that. I don't care, honestly, as an Ontarian, as somebody who, I'm in Yesser-Nakfi's riding for the record. So, but as somebody who lives in this province, and I don't, why are you telling me about what you won? You didn't fulfill your mandate. You don't have official, that just rubs me the wrong way. It's something the Conservatives have been doing ad nauseum since the federal Conservatives, since the most recent election. We got the most votes ever in history. Yeah, maybe you did, but there's another party who got more and they won. So I really don't care. That's just my perspective as an individual. Up until that point, I was fully on board with everything she was saying. We need to pay attention to rural and northern Ontario, which we have not done, and they haven't. And I think that acknowledgement, it sounded like I'll say almost like a mea culpa. You know what? I know we fucked up, basically. And we recognized that we were too hubristic. And as a result, we got our asses handed to us. So we recognize, I'm giving you the gist of what I got from it. Up until the 2.5 minute mark. And then it was kind of like, there was no need for that part, is what I'm getting at.
I saw you smiling a couple of times during that too, Nathaniel. So please, I would love to know what's behind that smile.
I mean, I don't. That's exactly it, right? She came out and she came out strong, and she's saying the right thing. She's saying, "I'm sorry, we screwed up. We need to do better. Here's some specific things we screwed up. We're listening." Why didn't this come out in April? Right? Why are you just finding out now that you haven't paid attention to rural and northern Ontario? Why are you just figuring it out now that we need to open up candidate nominations? Sure, those are great takeaways, but they should have been first thing. It should have been Monday morning apology. And instead we're seeing it in July when she is up for a leadership review and when she's starting to hear ghosts. It's a little insulting. And then to follow it up and tell me how much you've won and how much you've done for the party, it really comes across as just tone deaf.
Yes, completely. And that was what I got out of it. And I'm sure a lot of the viewers and listeners will probably get the same thing.
Particularly when her first priority on the night was to basically say that she's staying, as opposed to, saying that we've got a lot of work to do all that kind of stuff, and then maybe come back a couple of weeks later and say, okay, I've done all of this and I've decided that I'm staying because I can do this. It seems that, okay, we just lost, but it's like, yeah, but I'm staying.
Yeah.
And then we'll do that kind of stuff. I'm listening to this, and again, I had the same impressions as Mr. Grizzly. Like, I'm listening to the first bit. Okay, we need to do this by January 2026. We're going to have these nomination processes. We have to do more rural stuff. And on the rural stuff, I have to say, because we had a talk with Ted Sue during the leadership campaign. We've also had talks with federal liberals. We've talked to Mark Gerritsen in the previous election. We talked to Tyler, who did win this time around in Nepean, and we talked to Jules Montfort, who is up in the north, who didn't run again this time around. And one of the things that we've been saying on the show for the longest time, I do not know what it is with the Liberal Party, either federally or provincially, but there is absolutely no rural strategy whatsoever. Those seats are just conceded right from the get-go. And I do not know why. There's a lot of seats that are not in suburbs or in major metropolitan urban areas. And I do not understand how you go into an election with the assumption, hey, we're just going to sweep the urban areas and the suburban areas, and that will be enough, and actually have nothing on the table whatsoever that's meaningful or substantive, something that people can sink their teeth into on rural and northern policy. And this is now becoming especially important if we're talking about Bill C5 federally, if we're talking about Bill 5 Ontario-wise, also relationships with First Nations.
Yeah.
Like this, a lot of them happening to be located in the north, right? There seems to be, even myself as a Franco-Ontarian, what outreach is there to Francophone communities? Because again, there's a lot of ridings out in the east and out in the north as well. Like, and right now, we don't have anybody almost in the legislature that is leading a party. We can't even have a French language debate in Ontario with the leaders showing up. The competency is not there, right? So there's rural, there's Indigenous, there's Francophone populations, there's a whole bunch of other groups. There's a lot of outreach that needs to be done. And like Mr. Grizzly, I get to the second part. And this hits more now because we are hearing Pierre Poilievre talk about the shiniest silver medal in Canadian political history. It's like, we got all those votes. Yes, but you also drove vote to the other party. And I'm listening to this and I'm hearing, wow, we've got shiniest bronze medal in Ontario political history sort of talk going on here. And I get that it is important to have official party status, that it is meaningful. I do get that. I do get that going from 20% or 19% to 30% is significant. But at the end of the day, it's first past the post. It's seats, baby. It's seats.
Mhm.
If you're not talking about seats, you're not in the game. So we just threw a whole mess of jumble stuff at you. Run with it in any way you want.
The floor is yours, sir.
I think really the conclusion that I have come to in watching Bonnie Crombie coming out of the gate, I was excited about her ability to connect as a retail politician. I will say, you meet Bonnie in person, she will talk to you, and you will come away having had a great conversation where you felt heard and felt listened to. Bonnie Crombie is a good politician. I don't want to take anything away from her. What she is not doing is she is not leading this party. And that is where the failure lies. It's the fact that the party hasn't taken seriously the issues that have been persisting and dogging us as a party for almost a decade. And with Bonnie Crombie, we see a lot of the old faces. We see a lot of the old guard of the OLP, the people who have been around since Kathleen Wynne, since Dalton McGuinty even. A lot of these consultants and a lot of advisors who have been in the Liberal Party for a very, very long time, and they have contributed fantastic things to the party. But we need new energy. We need new capacity. We need new people in those seats who can bring youth and engagement and energy and passion and connect with voters on issues they care about today. We can't keep running the old campaigns, and we can't keep thinking that people are the same as they were in 2014 and 2012. It's a new game. It's a new time. People aren't as broken into left, right, center, and the Liberal Party can't campaign as a center party, because what does that mean? It's meaningless. You have to represent something, and you have to speak to people about the issues they care about. If we're not talking about housing affordability as our number one issue, if we're not talking about cost of living as number two, then we're failing people. If we're not engaging with unions and telling them the 413 is stupid, but we need to get you work, and that matters. And we're not saying that. All we're saying is 413 is dumb, and we're not considering the 30,000 jobs it will immediately create and the knock-on effects it will have in the economy. So coming out railing against things isn't going to work. We need to have proposals that people can put faith in, and we need to have a vision for Ontario and a vision for what we can do as a party that is more than just we'll defeat Doug. It has to be about what the Liberal Party is, the values we represent, and how we can use government as a tool to build capacity, grow our industry, grow our economy, while providing great support systems and great services through the proceeds that we gain through that industrial growth. It's about wrapping that vision into something that people can actually take with them and see themselves in. And if you don't feel represented in a policy document or in the issues that are being spoken about, look, everyone loves healthcare. Everyone needs healthcare. But if you're only talking about healthcare and you're not a nurse, you're not a doctor, or you haven't had a chronic healthcare issue, then that's not top of mind when Donald Trump is saying we have 35% tariffs coming down the pipe. And you have to adjust, build a vision that people can see themselves in and trust you to do it. And that's just, the OLP has failed to do it over and over and over again. And we're going to keep failing to do it if we don't change the process and we don't talk to people about what they care about.
Well, something you just brought up a moment ago that I'm like, you're absolutely right. Even though the Liberals aren't the opposition party, but it's a party in opposition,
Right.
right? Something I've noticed over the last number of years, federally and provincially, is parties will oppose. That's fine, but where's your proposition? Your job is to oppose and propose. And like you said with 413, this is stupid. Agreed, it is, but like that's 30,000 jobs. That's serious. So if you're opposing it, that's great, but what is your proposition that is going to create those jobs? It's going to create economic benefit in opposition of that project. And so, if you're just opposing everything all the time, which is kind of what the current federal party does, they never propose a damn thing about anything. You're never going to win new people, and longtime standing party members and believers and voters will start to turn away, as they very clearly did in the last two elections.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't propose anything.
Yeah.
It's just, we got to get rid of Doug Ford. Yeah, but okay, we all know this. Why are you telling me something that literally, I'd say the vast majority of Ontarians know full well, we got to get rid of this guy. He's not good for us in the long term. And it's going to take decades to fix the things he's broken.
Yeah.
But what are you going to propose that will benefit somebody in rural areas? And like Mr. Beaver, you just said earlier, nobody does anything for rural or Northern Ontario when it comes to the Liberal Party. And it's true. When was the last time, say, Southwestern Ontario, which is a large rural divide between Windsor and, I don't know, Kitchener-Waterloo, as an example? And I'm not saying that vast space. There's a few ridings there, and it's 99% blue. So what are you going to do to reach out to them? And it's something that clearly Ms. Crombie said we need to do, and that's great. Again, it's July. This should have been sooner, as you said, sir. And also, stop telling me about what you want. I don't care about that. That's not benefiting somebody who lives in a rural riding or a northern riding or something. It's not. They don't care, and you're never going to win them over by saying, "Well, look what we did here." No, I don't. No, that's not helping anybody. So it seems to be tone deaf to me.
Yeah. There seems to be a little lacking of the answering of Janet Jackson's question, "What have you done for me lately?"
Yeah. And as a constituent, you are totally allowed to ask that of your members of provincial parliament, because their job is literally to do things for you. So you don't sound like, some whiny punk when you say, "But what have you done for me lately?" It's your job to do things for us.
Yeah. And that's the big thing, is this Conservative government, they clearly aren't interested in doing things for us, but
No.
but nobody can seem to mount a significant enough rallying cry around an idea to win, right?
But there's so much material to build on.
Come out, there's no big idea where they're saying, let's do this. Bonnie Crombie hasn't come out. The housing thing, they came out with it, and then they didn't talk about it.
Yeah.
Right? They had a tax cut they introduced at the beginning of the election. They didn't talk about it after announcing it. The invisibility is incredibly frustrating. The inability to get themselves out there. The visibility of the party is nothing right now. And I understand that comes with, not having a seat in the legislature, but that's a choice that we actively are making now as a Liberal Party. Yep. We are actively choosing to have a leader who isn't sitting in the House or in Queen's Park.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What you mentioned about like mentioning an idea once and that not going back to it again or not, is like basic social marketing says that an average person needs to be exposed to a message 11 times before they start to register it. And to be exposed to a message 11 times, you have to have said it way more than 11, because you might not be at the computer screen or in front of the TV at the time it was said.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have a great housing policy, if you've got a great taxation policy, it's one of these things that needs to be hammered and hammered and hammered. Now, if you're like one of the people like me or Mr. Grizzly or Falling Politics, at one point we get tired of it because because we keep on hearing it over and over again. But that's not true of everybody sitting at home who's got 2.4 kids and a dog, maybe parents or kids as well who have come back at home, who are working extra overtime, who have long time in the commute. I mean, just because you said it once doesn't mean that everybody was in front of the TV screen when you said it.
Exactly.
Right? You have to build in that redundancy.
Yeah. And I don't think the party was very good at getting earned media throughout the election, throughout 2024. And I don't think that the party was all that good at getting this kind of media, the kind of media where people are able to have in-depth one-on-one conversations where we can actually talk freely about our ideas.
Mhm.
How many guests did Bonnie Crombie do last year? How many news hits?
We sent an invitation. It went unanswered.
These are wasted opportunities. As somebody who has consulted politicians on digital presence, it's, you need to take every opportunity you can get to get in front of people. You need to take every opportunity you can get to create content about yourself. Find ways to tell people what you want them to hear about yourself. And if you aren't, someone else is, right? We watched that throughout 2024. Doug Ford was hammering Bonnie Crombie on TV, on Facebook, on Twitter, everywhere, radio. You could hear Bonnie Crombie, the carbon tax Crombie, right?
Mm-hmm.
That was happening against her, and we had no response. Crombie failed to define herself. She allowed Doug Ford to do it for her, and we didn't have the resources or the manpower or the visibility to come out and say, no, that's wrong. This is the Ontario Liberal Party. Here's what we're about.
Now, Mr. Grizzly, you mentioned something when you were talking there that that resonated with me when you were talking about the oppose and propose, because when we talk about proposing, there's two types of proposing, right? You can say 413 is dumb, but here's how it could be smarter.
Mm-hmm.
So you could propose different ways to do 413, or you could say 413 is dumb, and here is what we must do in its place.
Right.
If you're not going to go forward with that and build a case for that. But it seems that neither was done. And when you say, when she turned around and she said, but we have to, and like she makes a point of putting the emphasis on it, defeat Doug Ford with the things in back. I get the same visceral reaction, and I get that from regardless of the party. At the federal level, we need to defeat Justin Trudeau. It's the same thing. It's like, yes, defeating Doug Ford is what you need to do if you want to form government. I get that. But if the priority of your party is to defeat the other guy,
Yeah,
you've lost me, because to me, the priority of the party should be able to develop a great value proposition that I would want to sign on to. And if you do that, the defeating Doug Ford will take care of itself. Hopefully, if the strategy and the tactics are well chosen. But give me a value proposition that I can hang my hat on, that makes me say, hey, I see myself in that. That's something I want. There's a good alternative. Make yourself have that suite of policies, and not only what you want to do, but the way you're going about doing them, because it's not just what you do, it's how you do it. And we need to see you doing it in the way that is respectful and seems to be proactive and seems to be inclusive and bringing everybody along with you, not just saying, here's what we decided from on high, eat this, you're going to like it. It's like, involve us in making the soup.
Well, and one other thing too that I'll add to that, sir, is I'd like people to remember that Ottawa, which is, yes, capital's Canada and the seat of federal government, it is also the second largest city in the province of Ontario. And more importantly, because Doug Ford fails to recognize this, it's in Ontario.
I was going to ask, I'm pretty sure it's in Quebec, right?
Yeah, yeah. Like, it's in Ontario, and I get. We'll go back for a second to the rural and northern Ontarians. constantly ignored by the party. It's how you give, you literally hand armament over to the Conservatives to say, the Laurentian elites are ignoring you once again, because it's true. Now, whether they're Laurentian elites or not, they're able to paint the party with that brush. Because they're not paying attention to the other parts. And again, in Ottawa, well, we're mostly Liberal and NDP in this riding, or in this community. But there's so little that's ever done for the city of Ottawa, because it's always Toronto, 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 and the rest of Ontario can just piss off, is the vibe I get from the Doug Ford government. Yeah. Although he's put money into Muskoka, but that's because his cottage is up there, right?
I did hear that they might actually be moving on the Northlander finally.
Oh, okay.
They promised in 2018. They are finally looking into doing the work necessary. So that'll be good for the North. But yeah, for the most part, it's this perpetual issue. Ontario is very, very big, and it's difficult to organize people in the North to come out to events. And I will say, like, the population density is very poor, and it's harder to get people out to come listen to you. And I appreciate and acknowledge that, but that doesn't mean you can't. That doesn't mean you can completely ignore. It just means you have to work in a different way, in a smarter way, and work harder to connect with those voters.
But the thing is that even if not everybody is able to come, if you have gone there and you met with some people and you get your earned media, whatnot, the people who were not able to make it, well, at least could say, well, at least they cared enough to show up and ask us for our vote.
Yes.
Right? If you don't show up at all because it's too big or not densely populated enough, and there's nothing in the press that says that you even showed up, that you know what the color of the grass is there. Right? I mean, you got to do that work. So I would like to get your thoughts, however, on the whole point of, changing the focus from defeating Doug Ford to actually developing something that is a value proposition.
So that's, as New Leaf Liberals, we're not trying to prescribe any policy. Our intent and our goal is that the party needs change to grow, and we want to see that work being done. In terms of the actual policy development, we believe that a robust leadership race will get us where we need to go in terms of those policy discussions. That's what we saw out of 2023. 2023, the leadership election, it was full of great ideas, from Adel on healthcare, Ted on energy, Yasser on community building, Nate on housing, Bonnie on connecting with voters and the economy and fundraising. There were great ideas from all of the candidates, and you're able as a party to take those things and take the best of those things and form a great policy ideology, a great value set to run off of. We didn't really see much of that from 2024. It just kind of seemed like we left a lot of the ideas in the past. We didn't keep that energy. We didn't keep those ideas coming out. But that is the value of a leadership election that I think a lot of people are glossing over when they say they're tired. They don't want a leadership election because it takes time and money. The money thing, I think I've fairly well covered. We raised money. We did not, it wasn't a net expense to the party to run a leadership race, but the ideas and the political will, I guess I could say, that comes out of the leadership races is palpable. And we just saw this with the feds. Mark Carney came through. We had ideas from Karina Gould. We had ideas from Frank Bayless. We had ideas from Chris Freeland, and they were all out there in the public. But Mark Carney took the energy out of that convention and turned it into an organization machine and a capacity building exercise for the party. That wasn't done in 2023, And that's what needs to happen from the AGM into the next leadership election, whenever that takes place. We need to treat it as a capacity building exercise, but also as one where we can grow our set of ideas and find the policy ideas that resonate with more Ontarians.
Okay. So let's say we get to the AGM like this and she does not survive the leadership review. Because when you talk about a robust leadership campaign, what does that to you? What does that look like?
I don't want to see a coronation. I think if we look, for example, at the NDP, we saw what happens when someone waltzes into the leadership chair. There isn't that discussion. There isn't that excitement. There's nothing new being brought to the party through that coronation, through that walk-in ceremony. I want to see ideas, and I want to see candidates who I may not have ever considered to run. I want to see people bringing their ideas and their passion about what we can do to change Ontario and make it great. I want those people at the forefront of this leadership election so that we can actually hear them out, so that we can have growth in the party.
Okay. All right. Let's talk about the upcoming AGM. First of all, when we talk about New Leaf Liberals, in your estimation, how large is this group?
Right now, we're at about 250, just under 250 signatories on our public petition. We do have a lot of people who've reached out to us in support to say, I'm sorry, I can't because of work or privacy, what have you. There is a lot of support for our organization, and I think that it shows in the reaction that we're eliciting from the party at this time.
Okay. What type of how has the party seemed to have responded to the fact that this is a thing now?
Well, I think we saw it mostly with the apology video that Bonnie Crombie posted the other day. We have seen a flurry of activities in new communications materials, and it seems that the party is stepping up the number of events that Bonnie Crombie will herself be attending. So there's movement on that front, and I think that it shows the Ontario Liberal Party is at least hearing there are a lot of people concerned with the leadership, and that there is a desire for change within the party.
Okay. Remind me again when the AGM is scheduled?
It is September, is it 12th to 14th, I believe? Yes.
Okay. So basically, we have a bit of the summer circuit, and then it is happening. Does the New Leaf Liberals, are they looking to actually present a candidate for the AGM, or just more sort of encouraging people to really throw their hats in the rings, that it is worth it and that this is needed?
Yeah, we're not going to endorse any candidates for leadership. We have no affiliation with any candidates for leadership or potential candidates for leadership, and we're not looking for their support necessarily, and we certainly won't be supporting them. In terms of the party executive, we do have a number of members who are interested in running, and we will explore that with them. But that's still something that we haven't necessarily made a group decision on. We'll have more details on that, I'm sure, to share. But really, this is all about letting the party know that the existing leadership has failed us. They've failed Ontarians by not doing the necessary work and the capacity building to get us over the line. And we want to make that clear.
And would elections for positions within the executive structure of the party, would that be happening at the same time as the AGM, or is there something that precedes that puts that there?
So the flow of the AGM, from what I understand, and this is still subject to a lot of things, the AGM, when you register, you should be receiving your ballot for the leadership review. all the other elections, those types of things, the regional meetings, the Constitution amendments, anything like that, those questions will be brought to the floor at another time. But the leadership review vote will take place, from what I understand, as soon as you pick up your lanyard.
Okay. All right. So if you're not backing a candidate, but trying to create sort of like the drumbeat that there's change that is needed and encouraging, I don't know, because you're not encouraging individual candidates, but creating a climate that would encourage people to step up, to say that there's a need. And if you do step up, there are some people that are willing to consider your candidacy as being serious. Um, what are the activities for New Leaf Liberals between now and that leadership review?
We're going to be continuing to meet with Liberals wherever we can. So we have an event, as I mentioned, coming up in Ottawa. We have one coming up in Mississauga. We're hoping to schedule one in Kingston. We should actually have the date for that relatively soon. I believe we're booking one in Brampton as well. We're trying to get out to as many people as we can, while also operating under the conditions that we're volunteers and we're not raising any money for this movement. We're trying to connect with people and we're trying to get out and talk to them. And we're going to continue reaching out to Liberals to talk about why we believe the change is necessary.
And you said you're in Ottawa tomorrow?
Yes, the 17th. We will be at Bridget's Well from 7 to 9, I believe, is our official time.
Okay.
Well, if I'm feeling up to it, I'll pop by and say hello. Like if I'm still not feeling very good, I don't want to get anybody else sick. So, but if I'm feeling up to it, I'll pop by.
I won't hold it against you if you don't show up.
Okay. Because I know St. Bridget's well, and I used to live down the street from it, so I know the place.
And I'm also seeing on the events page that there's an event scheduled for July 31st at 6 p.m. at Kailash Parbat in Mississauga, Ontario, and then the one in Burlington for August 7th from 7 to 9 p.m. at the Black Bull pub over there. So if we have any listeners that are in those areas and that are interested by this, please mark those dates on your calendar. And if you are looking for them because you didn't have a pen and paper at the moment, newleafliberals.com/events is where you will be able to find it.
Should be scrolling across the bottom of the screen as we speak.
There we go. Thank you so much, Mr. Grizzly. It says that you have this petition. Is this a petition that Ontarians as a whole are invited to sign, or is this more of an internal position, a petition from within the party and that type of stuff?
We don't have the official party lists, so we don't have any ability to filter this for members, but this is a movement for Ontario Liberals, and that's really, we're encouraging Ontario Liberals to sign this petition. If somebody wants to join the Ontario Liberal Party and join our movement, I would encourage them to do so, because you can, join the party to save the party. That's it. Absolutely a great thing to do. We do have a lot of people who are coming out and saying, I didn't really think about getting into politics, but what you're saying makes sense. We have people like that who are signing up and they are registering as members and they are joining us in that capacity as well. So
okay, for the petition, what the activities have definitely got the attention of the party, as you mentioned, and of leadership, but if you had your druthers in terms of signatures to the petition, what would be a ballpark number that would give you the sense that not only do you have to acknowledge that we exist, but we are undeniable here?
I think if we could get around 500 signatures, and that has been somewhat our goal from the outset, is that would represent probably about a third of the number that we can expect at the AGM, maybe a bit under that. And I think that would be representative as well of the undeniable nature that there are members who believe that Bonnie needs to show great strength or she needs to step aside.
Okay. Let's say the AGM passes and she is defeated. Is that where the work for New Leaf Liberals stops because that goal has been met, or is there something with regard to happening? Now, there is a New Leaf Liberal or the opportunity for a New Leaf Liberal, because I'm guessing that the leadership review would then require a leadership race that would happen later. Um, is there more for the New Leaf Liberals to do at that point, or is it just, the leadership review happened and it's no longer Bonnie, so our work here is done?
I think that we have created some organizational capacity that didn't exist prior. I'm not sure about the specific purpose of the organization beyond the AGM, but I
Okay.
do know that we have a group of individuals here who have come together and they are able to get out their voices and connect with people. We as a group, we're not going to abandon each other, and I hope to keep as many of us together in conversations and organization after, but we aren't going to work together on a specific leadership race. To be clear, New Leaf Liberals will not be specifically backing any candidate in a leadership race. So effectively will be dissolved for any leadership race, but we may try to spin it back up for the capacity building and the continued community growth, right?
Yeah.
We can't,
Okay.
as a party, continue to approach elections as though, or politics as though they are based around elections. Politics and democracy have to be practiced on a regular basis. We need to be continually listening to people, and we need to be continually growing our capacity. We need to find new volunteers. We need to find people who are interested and share our values and believe in the mission of our party. And if we're not doing that outside of the election cycles, then we're going to continue to atrophy and we'll have these same problems occur by the next election.
Okay. I had an ulterior motive in asking the question, and that as someone who's dabbled a little bit in communications, New Leaf Liberals as a moniker is really, really, really good. So, because, right, everybody, we're turning over a new leaf. And as you mentioned, if I believe that there is a way with that name to do something, as you mentioned, in that particular capacity, not necessarily behind one candidate or whatnot, but the overarching principle
Mhm.
here that politics is a living thing. Any type of policy is a living document, any type of like this. And therefore, there's a continuous need to be turning over new leaves as new information comes on, as the chessboard changes, as new players come into the game, and to have that sort of uh, underlying foundational drive for constant evolution, constant change, rather than remaining stagnant. That there's probably a great value added proposition in that continuing in certain capacity afterwards. So that was sort of my ulterior motive there.
Turning over a new leaf. That's exactly right. And yeah, I really, I don't want to abandon the organization work that we've done, but I also recognize that a lot of these movements are about the specific moment in time and the specific outcome that wants to be achieved. But these are people who care deeply about the Ontario Liberal Party, and I don't think that's going to change necessarily over the next 6 months, over the next year. We're going to keep finding ways to connect with passionate individuals who want to contribute to the party, and that's an important part of any organization, whether it's a sub-organization or it's the bigger picture. We need to find ways as a party to keep growing, and New Leaf can be a part of that.
Mr. Grizzly, do you have anything?
No, I think, I'm kind of just very content right now with everything we've talked about. We've addressed a few of the things that I had that were top of mind, and you've given us great answers. I honestly, I don't have anything more to add to the conversation, which I know is rare for me because as an Irishman who likes to chat, I usually have a million things to say. But I think you've kind of you answered all the questions I had. You've hit the nail on the head with everything that concerns me, and I think to a larger degree us, as in us in the province of Ontario. So no, I really don't have anything more to say.
The only other question that I would have for you, or sort of like would like to hear your views upon, because, and this is sort of like what kind of brought us together here for the opportunity, is that in my experience, these types of movements, when they happen, they're usually behind the screen, in the hallways, in the back rooms. You know, you hear this like everything seems to be going well, and all of a sudden, whoa, he got pushed out. When did this happen? There was this movement behind it, like, or it spills out into the news because people get rumors, and it spills out like dirty laundry being aired out in public. We saw that, like, sort of like when Aaron O'Toole sort of got the boot. We heard about all that grumbling. It's like Mr. McKay like threw in that first shot, and it's like, oh my god, the body isn't even cold yet, dude. Like, take a break here. But this is bold and public and out in the open, right? It doesn't have an air of lurking or skulking through the shadows in order to try to make something happen.
No
I am
sabotage
going
vibe, right?
Right. I'm going to guess that was an intentional decision. I was just wondering what the thinking behind that, between being so bold and saying, you know what, we need a leadership change, because normally that's a little more hush hush.
Oftentimes when we hear about those types of movements, the movements that operate in the shadows, they build a lot of division and a lot of secrets and a lot of leaks and, just behavior that doesn't contribute to organizational growth or effectiveness, and instead leads to further division, further like it stratifies people, and it leads to individuals either being an in-group or an out-group, and we really don't want this to be that. New Leaf Liberals, we are reaching out to former Crombie supporters. We're reaching out to former Shamji supporters. We're reaching out to Shu and Nakvi and Erskine Smith. We want the Kathleen Wynne Liberals. We want the Dalton McGuinty Liberals. We want them all, because this is a party that has been failing, and it has been failing for a very long time, and it's going to take more than any single track to get us back. We're going to need to grow the party. And operating in the shadows, you can't really get out and have these conversations with people that we have been having. You can't hear the feedback that the party is perhaps missing. Those kinds of things, it makes, by being out in public, people have come to me and said, this makes me feel like I have a home in the Liberal Party. Not because we are organizing in this capacity, but because we're doing it out in the open, and because we're inviting people to openly criticize the party. That is so important for the health of the party, is to not serve retribution to dissenters. Instead, we need to embrace that dissent and find ways to grow with it, and find ways to harness the energy that comes with those kinds of movements. And I'd like to somewhat be an example for future movements in that regard. Do things out in the open, talk to people, be visible. Politics is only a game insofar as we allow it to be a game. And if you get out to have conversations and make it about people and make it about the problems that they have on a daily basis, you're going to attract people.
Okay. I lied when I said that was the last question because you said something that prompted one more. When you said it's an invitation for Ontarians, and I'm guessing this would be Ontarians, whether they consider themselves liberal voters or not here, to openly criticize the party. Because I'm guessing if you're not even willing to consider the Liberal Party, I guess you want to hear from those people, well, what would make you consider the Liberal Party? So in this process of being receptive to open criticism from the public, have you heard anything that for you indicated, oh, I hadn't thought of that. We have a blind spot here.
Yes, actually. Well, one of the things that we put on our petition very early, and it's still there, and I'm going to be completely honest about it, is we asked the party to commit to not backfill delegate positions that remained vacant. When we put that up there, it was our intent that we wanted to ensure the review process would be fair and representative of the voices of the public and the voices of the membership. What we feared was that the party would backfill supporters of Bonnie Crombie exclusively.
Right.
The language there is problematic, and I'm going to acknowledge that. Commit to not fill delegate positions that remain vacant. That would actually lead to the exclusion of a lot of people from the delegation process. And, that's not a great way of putting it. What we wanted to say, and what we should have said, was we want to ensure a fair election, and left it at that. We were just overly specific there, and it had some negative consequences that we have since recognized, and I'm glad it was pointed out to me. We have a number of things like that where we're not going to be perfect. We have to listen to people, just like the party does. The party has to listen to people, and they're going to make mistakes, and we're going to make mistakes too. At the end of the day, we're just people.
I appreciate you saying that. Thank you so much. Daniel, thank you so much for joining us today. Really appreciate it. It's nice to learn more about the initiative, find out how it's actually working, what the motivations are behind it, why it exists, what your goals are, and what your process is. Because sometimes in a quick little news article or a 2-minute news story, whatnot, and you get a 15-second sound clip, all of that doesn't come through. So hopefully our audience here has a better sense of what the initiative is all about, and that will make it such that they are willing, for those of you those of you in our audience who are from Ontario, whether you are Liberal voters or not, might want to sign on to that or sign on to the petition, because sometimes you just want. Sometimes, and I'm saying the same thing about what's going on in Alberta, sometimes you just want to have the option. Whether you choose to exercise it or not, you want to at least know you have the option. And making sure that in a democratic process that people have not only the most options possible, but the best possible of options, right? If all of the parties fielded a really great leader, and you could go in and say, you know what, I'm voting for this person rather than I need to vote X to block O because this leader is just so terrible. If everybody worked on actually presenting the best possible leader and the best possible value proposition rather than something else, we would all be better off. So I'm hoping that this is what does emerge from this process, and that whatever goals the party has where this movement has, whether or not that is in the form with Bonnie Crombie remaining as leader and she does learn some things and then takes the party in the direction or does the things that need to be done, or whether it is with a new leader, that breath of fresh air and that renewal does come, because it is needed. As an Ontarian, we can't keep on letting this guy win by default.
Well, something I want to add to that is one of the big things I think in messaging that everybody in politics seems to have forgotten is that you should probably consult with a good sales consultant. Not just PR people, but a good sales rep, because a good sales rep will say, don't tell people things they don't want to hear. Number one, stop telling people we need to beat Doug Ford. Everyone knows this. We know you'd want to do that because you're an opposition party.
Yes.
So tell people, I'm going to come in and this is what I'm going to do for you. Tell
Yes.
people what they want to hear and be truthful and sincere about it.
I want to provide you with good governance.
Yes.
That's the message we really want to hear. And this is how we plan to do it.
And when you say you're going to build an iron ring around the retirement homes, make it around the people and not the shareholders, please.
Thank you so much, Nathaniel. Do you have any something that you need to plug, or that you want viewers to go and see, or a final message that you want them to retain that they can take with them for the rest of the day after the show?
Well, if everyone would like to sign our petition, newleafliberals.com. We are also asking for, we're looking for volunteers always. We're trying to connect with as many people who are passionate about the Ontario Liberal Party as possible. So if that is you, or if you're passionate about building a better Ontario and you think that I have some good ideas, or maybe the Liberal Party hasn't been for you in the past, maybe you want to see yourself represented in it, come sign the petition, sign up to be a volunteer, help us achieve this goal, help us build a stronger Ontario Liberal Party so that we can defeat Doug Ford with something more, with a vision and with values.
All right. Thank you so very much. All the best to you and all of yours. And if there comes an opportunity where you need to come back and you have an update for us, please just hit us up, and we will definitely make time for that.
Thanks for coming by.
me.
All right. Mr. Grizzly, what do you think?
I thought that was great. Like I said, I don't have a whole lot more to add to it. My concerns and questions were directly addressed, and I think Nathaniel's he's hitting things right on the money and has identified the problems within the party.
Mm-hmm.
Again, my vote changes from election to election. I don't
Right.
belong to a political party. There's no secret about that. But I just want something I can believe in again, and I've not had that for quite some time.
Yeah.
And I know I'm not alone in saying that. There's a lot of people across Ontario and across Canada, for that matter, who have not had anything to believe in a long time. And this is kind of a grassroots vibe to it, a la Bonnie Critchley.
Yep.
You know,
Yep.
that's the vibe I get from it. You know, somebody who actually cares, actually wants to make a difference, needs to address the issues that are at hand. And you know, we watched the video from Bonnie, which was like I said, the first 2.5 minutes were great. And then after that, it kind of went downhill. And it wasn't just you and I that thought that.
Yeah, indeed. I like that the impetus from this is coming from within the party itself, that there are people within the party that care about it, that say, you know what, there are issues here. We recognize them. It's not, and I'm listening to him, and it's like, it's not anti-Bonnie.
No, it's not.
Right? It's very, we need to get our act together, especially if we're going to take this act on the road. Right?
Acknowledging the shortcomings, acknowledging the oversights, acknowledging the things that have been missed along the way. And you know, the what's the old saying, that the first part of solving a problem is admitting that you have one.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just, some people are willing to be honest and, take a long look in the mirror and say, this is not it.
Mhm.
What we're doing is not it. And that, I find that refreshing. And yes, I wish many other political parties would do the same thing.
Yes, and be forthright and transparent about it.
Yeah.
because you know what? People appreciate that.
Yes.
The backroom stuff, which is, who's our friend who was on a couple of times, former member of the Conservative,
Mr. Chen, Bert
Chen, thank you, who was public in saying he needs to step down. This is why he needs to step down. Well, what did they do? They immediately stabbed him in the back and removed him.
Yep, indeed.
And he did the right thing.
He did.
Come forth, be public, and say, no, this person is no longer fit to be that, in that position. And Nathaniel's not saying that about Bonnie Crombie, and it's not anti-Bonnie Crombie, but you know what I'm saying? It's like the Conservatives, whether it's federal or provincial, well, then again, they're completely different parties. They're totally different parties.
Yep.
Because there are progressives in the Ontario PCs. I know there are. I don't think there's any progressive left in the Conservative Party of Canada at a federal. No. I really don't. I thought there was a few, but they've all seemed to toed the same line. But that's neither here nor there. What I'm trying to get at here is that we need more and more people to do what Nathaniel's doing. It's come forth and say, we acknowledge there's a problem. We know this. It's time we do something about it.
Yeah. Or even, like, I guess it's another way to say problem, but like what we've been doing is clearly not working.
Acknowledge that.
We need new ideas. Yeah. Our new way of doing things, a new way of seeing things. We need new voices. We need somebody to point out our blind spots. We need somebody that has accomplished things using different means like this. We need to not be afraid to try new things, or at least even consider them.
Agreed.
Right. So yeah, I'm down with this. I like this initiative. This is a good thing. And actually, if we're talking Bonnie Critchley a little bit as well, she says this in interviews, and I truly believe this, and we've said this on the show. It is more important for the partisans of a party to look at itself and say, you have not met this standard. You have let us down. You can do better here. You need to raise your game here, rather than looking at every other party and pointing a finger and saying, they're not doing enough well there. This person is too corrupt. This person. Like, if you can't turn that same critical focus on your own party and look at your own people and say, this is where we screwed up, or this is here where you can do better first, before looking at other parties and doing that, you're doing your party a disservice.
Agreed.
All partisans, whether you're deeply involved in politics like Nathaniel is, or whether or not you're just at home and you just go vote every few years and you choose your party like this, if you cannot first look at your own party and go, yeah, no, that's not it, when that is not it, and you're always looking at the other people, you gotta clean up your own house.
You gotta look within.
Gotta look within.
Simple as that, right? It's just, if you don't look within, you don't know that there's issues when the issues arise, and as a result, they fester and rot, and eventually, what happens? You have to amputate.
Yeah, and that's always way more work.
Way more work.
Yeah,
way more work.
All right. Kids and Cubs, that's the end of this episode of the True North Eager Beaver Interview Project. We hope that you liked this episode because we loved making this for you. Remember, sharing is caring and word of mouth is priceless, so please tell your peeps and poops all about us. And when you do, please include a little bit of your own when you share it. Tell them why you're sharing it or what resonated with you, because you are influencers in your own circle, and that is marketing that is priceless. We cannot buy that, and we thank you for your help when you do that. Now, kids and cubs, if, like Nathaniel, you are a busy beaver, person on the go, lots of things to do, and maybe you're not able to sit with us every morning or at a point during the day, but maybe you need to take us with you on the go. Well, hey, we're portable, thanks to the Ray Girl, who has sponsored our pod page. If you scan that QR code that Mr. Grizzly just made appear, that will bring you to podpage.com/the-true-north-eager-beaver with a hyphen between each one of those words. And if you're listening, you go to the same spot. And if you click subscribe, when we have something fresh off the bandwidth, it comes directly to you in audiocast to your favorite podcast feed. You don't even have to go looking for us. We make it easy because we like to help. Now, if in exchange for our help, you would like to help us, well, hey, We don't mind a little back scratching. How about taking a trip down to the True North Eager Beaver YouTube page, where Kits Cassie and Kits Elaine will be beckoning you to flick our buttons, like, share, and subscribe. That's the QR code for our coffee, not our YouTube page there. But
I don't have one for the YouTube page.
oh, okay. Oh, all right.
I don't think I do. Hang on.
There
Oh, I do. Yeah, there's the
There you
YouTube
go.
page.
There we go.
Yeah, if you're watching us on another stream like Twitch or Facebook or Twitter or something of that nature, you can scan that code. It'll take you to our YouTube channel, and when you get to our YouTube channel, you can join the chat.
There you go. And please do like, share, and subscribe. Those are our buttons. And when you click them, it helps us with the algorithm, of course. But it also lets you know that, let us know that we're getting a little bit of love. And that always makes us feel good. So thank you. And if you would like to help us in yet another way, we do incur some costs to bring this show to you. And we hope that it resonates enough with you that you would like to send us an expression of encouragement to help us do more. And if you would like to do that, a contribution to the Beaver Lodge's Emergency Hydration Fund goes a long way. If you want to offer your favorite beaver a cup of hot chocolate, or your favorite grizzly a cup of piping dark and bitter coffee, well then, that helps us to produce and market and develop this show and present it to you. Basically, hot chocolate and coffee are our staff. So if you would like to help us staff up, because they keep disappearing on us, don't know how that happens. A contribution helps us a lot. So thank you so much for your generosity. It means the world to us. And of course, everything you donate goes back into the show. Now, if you're buying Canadian, because that's still definitely a thing and we got to keep it going, especially in light of all these new tariff threats, well, maybe you want to bypass the US CE Tech Bros when you make that donation. And if you want to do that, then a direct bank transfer to us via True North Eager Beaver at gmail.com will help you do that. 100% Canadian transaction. And bonus, we get 100% of your donation. So it's win-win. That email address is also the same one at which you can write us to share your thoughts. What did you think about the show? What did you think about our guest? Do you have other guests you would like us to have on? Are there any topics that you would like us to address? We want to hear from you. What can we do better? We're open to some constructive criticism as well. So please write to us, truenortheagerbeaver at gmail.com. It's your show too, so we like to hear from you. And again, like your donations, everything that you tell us, we've worked it back into the show to try and make it better. Now, if you would like to communicate with us via our socials, at True Eager at the Blue Sky Beaver Lodge, also on the Jitter, True North Eager Beaver on Facebook, or on YouTube if you happen to be listening with the DAMFAM, or later on at your own convenience, right down here in the comment section. Let us know what you think. We do read everything, even though we're not able to get back to everyone. And we thank you for taking the time to let us know what you think. Because democracy is something that you do, kids and cubs. Well, hey, if you're in Ontario, why not go to newleafliberals.com and sign the petition? Or check out their events page and show up. Ottawa, Burlington, and Mississauga are the next 3 ones on the calendar. So why not show up and find out what's going on? Get your ear to the ground. As we keep on telling you, party politics is where it's at, particularly for democracy, especially if you want the best possible candidates. So that's a good place to get involved. All right. Words of wisdom, Mr. Grizzly. Have you got any?
I was just going to say, if you want to get involved, that would be, I would presume we're going to air this on the 17th so that we can actually get the message out that the next meetup is in Ottawa at Bridget's Well in the Byward Market on July 17th from 7 to 9 p.m. If you're in the Mississauga area, it's Thursday, July 31st from 6 to 8 p.m. at Kailash Parbat. I hope I said that. Kailash, Kailash Parbat. And in Burlington, it will be August 7th from 7 to 9 p.m. at the Black Bull Pub in Burlington.
All right. There we go. So some wisdom there. Kids and cubs, it could be a tough world out there. So please be kind to and gentle with yourself. And since the kids are not here with us, Mr. Grizzly, please cue the cock. You are listening to a True North Eager Beaver Media Incorporated podcast. The True North Eager Beaver podcasts are proudly brought to you by our founding sponsors. The Misfit Mysteries from Corvid Moon Publishing, your source for science fiction, fantasy, and cozy mysteries featuring a broad diversity of characters. CanadianTarot.com, their uniquely Canadian online eclectic tarot community. And The Peppermaster, hot pepper sauces made from farm-fresh ingredients to thrill your taste buds and expand your mind. We are grateful to the Crier Media Network for its support, Pete Jarvis for our artwork, and Paul Joseph Something for our opening and closing sequence music. All right, kits and cubs. As Mr. Grizzly stated, I think we are going to air this tomorrow. So will be a Thursday because he did make a good point given that there was an event going in Ottawa. We will do that. So for those of you who were expecting news of the first day of the summit with Indigenous peoples with regard to Bill C5, we hopefully will have stuff for you on that on a Friday show. So please stay with us for that and come back. And I think that's pretty much all I have for you today, kits and cubs. So with that, we are off. Have a beautiful day. Amour et bisous. And we will see you back again live on Friday.